Well, let's be honest. That was probably a big nothing burger. It is the Kaufman Corner podcast with you, coming to you a day late because we wanted to make sure we got the trade deadline in, because I there's just no way we could have broken this down without the monumental moves that were made today. We will get into it all. David Lesky, Soren Petro with you. We will talk about some Royals baseball at the trade deadline. Did they get it right? Lane Thomas, Bailey Falter going for Lucas Braun and Carter Holton a few days ago. That was the biggest part of the equation. What does not moving Wacha and Luga mean for 27? Could not dealing them actually be the right thing to do? The rest of the 26 season should look like what? How valuable is it to have some payroll space? Avila, the latest to go down to injury. John Rave is sitting. Blake Mitchell's sitting. We're going to talk about it right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Thanks for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Normally we go Sundays at 9 p.m. or go on Monday at 9 p.m. just to get the trade deadline in. A couple of minor deals done today. We'll talk about that. We'll add that onto the equation. But you never knew. You never knew what might have happened.
100%. And they know that. They are well aware of that. I credit to them for that. Once they make those additions, and if they don't, it's going to be telling pretty quickly. But if they don't make these additions, and if they do make these additions and they're not winning, there is no reason for them to keep their jobs. Simple as that.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I'd stop just short of it. I've always said that barring what appears to be a club that's going in absolutely the wrong direction, you bring in a new general manager and ask him to do things differently, you're looking at a 5-year commitment. I'm not saying you have to keep him 5 years, but it has to look like, oh my God, we're nosediving, or I just don't see a path to it. Otherwise, I think you need to give the 5 years to see where the system's at. And Brian Bridges was brought in a year later, so you're almost kind of a year behind on that. But I don't discount that. You're put in charge. 5 years gives you a great chance to look at. That's not to say you have to be in the playoffs after 5 years, but you need to see the playoffs coming really soon. And so I won't go quite as far as you went with it, but it clearly they have doubled down. I do want to say this. I'll never say at any one moment you had to trade a guy. Right? Because I don't know what the offers were. And to say you have to trade someone, that's how you end up moving Carlos Beltran and not getting enough. Although I love Mark Tien and John Buck. They were great guys, but it wasn't enough for what Carlos Beltran
What about Mike Wood?
And what about Mike Wood? But so I do think that, like in this time, like, am I disappointed that they didn't do something bigger? I am. Because I don't think 27 is a realistic option unless they're going to spend a lot more money than I realize in this offseason, which if they are, okay, this makes a lot more sense. And so this would either seem to point towards that, or it points towards that they've got some kind of analytic data that tells them, yeah, the closer's a killer. And when you don't have a closer right, it jacks up everything. And when this pitcher goes down, and if we can just get this and this, we're actually okay. But I mean, I just see so many things that they still need to go get, and so I find it hard to get there. I would say that, when you say that we can't move Michael Walker or we can't move Seth Lugo, we can't move our starting pitching because we're going to need him in 27. And if we trade him now, that's just one other thing we have to go replace. You're making the statement that we plan on competing in 27. So you must compete. They cannot have another season like this, or they will have lost entirely the entire confidence in the fan base. I mean, there'll be no way around it. And so I do think that they have, not necessarily from just this trade deadline, but from the last offseason and the previous trade deadline, not moving Lugo, re-signing Lugo. Before that, re-signing Wacha. And then not moving any of them at multiple times that they could have moved them. I can excuse any one of those times that you didn't make a trade, but as a whole, to collectively not find the opportunity to flip one of those pitchers for something that you could use long term is a plan. It's a direction. It's not a result of no one offered. Okay, yes, this time you went out and you wanted a big haul. No one offered that. Okay. But that means you've been asking for a big haul for multiple years. You wanted a big haul for Seth Lugo last year. You thought it was more important to keep him because you thought it would help you compete this year. Well, you didn't compete. So that was wrong. And I don't care. All the injuries, every team has injuries along the way. Now, I think theirs have become extensive. I also think they've gotten to the point of the season where when in doubt, IL them. Okay.
Right. For sure. I was going to say that
right now.
Yeah.
So the injuries always pile up on the bad teams because guys that would fight through it, hold off on surgeries, go ahead and get the surgeries to get the rehab going. But, so it is a clear indication. I don't think there's any other way to put it. It is a clear indication that they are planning on being a competitive ball club next year. And I think if that's how you're going to play it, then you need to compete, period. I mean, if you don't, then it looks like your plan has gone off the rails.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to, I'm jumping around a little bit on our list here, but if you need to compete next year, they need 2 starters better than Michael Wacha. If Michael Wacha is your best starter on opening day, you are not competing. Michael Wacha needs to be your 3rd best.
I think they need 2 more starters, at least of his caliber. They need Noah.
Okay, that's fine.
I think you can do that. You can be competitive, right? We're talking about competitive, not winning a world championship. You can be competitive with 5 Michael Walkers. He'll keep you in the game. They'll eat innings. They'll protect your bullpen if you can be lights out at the end. Because that's really what they had in 13, 14, 15, 16. And they were competitive.
But they had the bullpen then too.
Right.
And so. But you're right. But okay, so let me put it a different way. Michael Wacha cannot be your clear-cut best starter. There have to be at least 2 other guys who you could argue are better than Michael Wacha. How about that?
I think that's a great way because in 24 there was there was Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo who were better, and there was Brady Singer who was arguably as good.
Yeah,
and so I think that's a fair assessment.
But they also need 3 relievers, 5 relievers, 4 relievers. We don't know yet. We actually don't know. And we'll find out over the next 2 months just how many. But they need at least 3 and probably 5. Which, look, I will also say, like, that is, it sounds more, it's daunting. Don't get me wrong. It is not easy. It's easier than it sounds. Easier than it sounds. Like, I think, like, the 23 Rangers, for example, their entire bullpen turned over in season. Because it was bad. You can turn over a bullpen in season. That's the easiest is the wrong word because it's still not easy, but that's the least hard thing to fix. So it's that part's doable. They've got to get 2 starters who are at least as good as Michael Wacha, and it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. They did it in 2020 at the end of 23. I mean, they brought in Wacha and Lugo because they had to get 2 starters who were at least as good as Brady Singer, right? I mean, I think that's kind of Singer didn't have a very good 23, but or was 23 the good year? No, 23 was bad, but Singer was the what's the word I'm looking for? The line that they had to cross, and they did. They brought in 2. Now they've got to do it again, and they made it look very easy after 2023. It is not that easy.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy. I'm optimistic about where they'll go from here. I mean, let's talk a little bit about. Well, let's stay with this because I don't want to get started, and we'll break here in a couple of minutes. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I do think that they need bullpen. I think they've got to solve their offense. So whether that's different people calling the shots, you think they've reworked it and maybe they have their group. It's the same group, but just in a different order of who handles what. Okay, maybe that's come together, but Lane Thomas is gone. Let's see how it looks now with Kyle Isbell back in there, because Kyle Isbell was in there in the beginning and it didn't look very good. Okay, so if you can really solve the bullpen and make it lights out, okay, you don't need to do as much with the starting pitching. If you get 3 lights out starters, then you don't need to do quite as much with the bullpen. If you can get a thunderous amount of bats added into the equation, then you don't need to do quite as much in the pitching. I mean, they've got, but when I name off the 3 core spots of the team, also getting their head out of their ass when it comes to running the bases would be a monumental help as well. When I mention all those things, though, it's like we're talking about a lot. I mean, we're talking about at least center field with a premium bat, or we're talking about a premium defensive center fielder with a premium bat brought into play left field, so that Isaac Collins can become your 4th outfielder and you get that kind of depth offensively. We're talking about finding a second baseman. I don't think Michael Massey has grabbed hold of that job. So we're talking about finding a legit second baseman. We're talking about young players taking another step forward. We're talking about, I'm with you, an entire bullpen. And we're talking about what now with Luinder Avila with forearm tightness. We're now talking about minimum, 3 starters. I know if Noah Cameron, Michael Wacha, and Seth Lugo are going, that's 3, and you only have 2 others. I get that, but they don't even have the guy at AAA that's ready to lock and load. And if you're like, Dobnak looks pretty good, he's not under contract.
No, he's not. So, I mean, they did. We'll get to the trade. Like Lucas Braun is the guy now, but he's a 5. He's a 4 or 5. And we can get to that here after the break probably. But yeah, they don't have that guy in AAA right now. They might next year at some point, but they don't. You can't predict that they will. We thought they might this year, and Steven Zobak is still sitting in AA, kind of starting to get it going for the first time. Ben Kudrna was in AAA, who I don't think either of us fully believed in, but he was there, and then he got hurt. Ryan Bergert was there, and then he got hurt. And, pitchers get hurt. B, the Royals seem to have a lot of pitchers getting hurt right now, which I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know if they are actually doing anything wrong or if it's just that pitchers get hurt, but something's going on. And
I want to hit a couple of things here. First of all, Terry says, sounds like blowing it up. No, I'm not there, but it doesn't. I think you could, if you wanted to, I'll make you a path. I'm never afraid to blow it up because I think it's the fastest way to get back on top. But one of the problems they have and why they might not want to blow it up is because they're going to have another high pick this year, and you can't have a high pick 3 years in a row. So if you blow it up again, you're not going to get the high draft pick reward in the 28 draft. So that's one reason to maybe go ahead and try to put it together there, reset the shot clock. And if you have to blow it up, you say we're not close enough, then you can do it. Mark says they now have to spend money, real money, new ballpark. You just asked taxpayers for $1 billion of money. Enough of this crap. Okay. I hear you. And I think that's where a lot of fans are going to be. I think that is a big part of the equation. I think that's where they're going to need to, they cannot lose the confidence of their fan base going into a new ballpark. The Marlins did that, and there's no momentum or juice or energy that came with their new ballpark. And so
part of that, have you been to that park? I haven't, but
I haven't.
It looks like there's no energy anyway.
Yeah.
You're right. No, you're right.
I don't, Miami's an odd town. I've had a couple of good times in Miami, but it's just an odd town.
It's a weird place.
It doesn't, I'm not a multimillionaire, so I guess it doesn't speak to me the way it does others. But anyway, it just, for me, I think they do need to, They need to be right about this plan. They need to be competitive, and they need to be. And I think, but what they've got to recognize is, I think they've got to respect their fan base, right? Like I don't think you can go about thinking that, okay, well, we're going to tell them we're going to compete, and that's going to be good enough. No, if you tell them you're going to compete, then you got to compete, right? I think that's the important part that they might be missing, and then. I think you have to believe, because if you told the team, okay, we're not tearing it apart, you're going to watch, we're not trading Bobby Witt, we're not trading all these guys, but we are resetting We're going to try to win, but you've got to be honest with what the plan is. So if you talk about competing in 27 and you come back and you've brought in Michael Lorenzen and Dobnak to finish off your rotation, you're just going to piss off your fan base. And that's not where you want to be right now.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I mean, that's just not what you want to be. All right, we want to break down the individual deals. How good are they? What do the Royals get? We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Your parking lot says a lot about your business. Cracks, potholes, faded striping, and damaged concrete can create safety concerns and leave the wrong impression with customers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete helps Kansas City businesses protect their properties with asphalt paving, seal coating, crack filling, parking lot striping, concrete work, and repairs. Their experienced crews deliver quality workmanship and dependable service on every project. Whether you need routine maintenance or a complete parking lot overhaul, Gann is ready to help you. Get started today with a free estimate at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about the Lane Thomas deal. Thomas and Falter for Lucas Braun. I know some people have been talking about the arsenal for Lucas Braun. Lucas Braun and Carter Holton. What do you make of this deal, David?
I think it's a pretty good deal value-wise. I don't think that the Royals won it. I don't think the Braves won it. I think that they got about right. Braun is... I mean, he is what he is. He's a back end starter. I've seen him described as a kitchen sink starter by 3 different publications, which I'd heard that. I mean, I've heard the phrase before, but I've never seen somebody so universally called a kitchen sink starter. So whatever it is, but there was 6 pitches, gets up to 96 with his fastball, generally sitting 92, 93 though. He throws all 6 pitches at least 10% of the time, which, I mean, it's a little Lugo-ish. Cutter's pretty good.
Do you think that's what they're thinking? The starter?
Maybe. Look, I do think that they see a starter. He's going to be in Omaha. JJ today on his Zoom mentioned that he didn't even mention 26 for Braun, which I thought was interesting. He mentioned 27. So, that's interesting, I think. But I like Braun enough. Braun is exactly the type of piece that gives you depth in your organization, that gives you that guy who you can call up, that guy, whatever. I like Lucas Braun. I don't think he's special, but you also traded basically a platoon outfielder for the Braves have for 2 months. And then they also got the Carter Holton. I thought was interesting because I went back through my notes from talking to people after and before the 24 draft, and 3 different people mentioned him with the Royals. They liked him. I think what happened is they didn't like him enough to draft him where they drafted Shields, and then he was gone by the time they drafted again. So they didn't get a chance to get him, and teams do that. Like, right, they like a guy. If they can come back and acquire him, they're going to. Kind of like worked out for the Royals because he got hurt after his very first start, had Tommy John. Now he's back, and he's been pretty good. He's a lefty who can throw upper 90s. Slider is really good. There's some reliever risk because the mechanics aren't great. His release point, he struggles to repeat it. So teachable, but also like if he's a reliever, he's a reliever. But for Lane Thomas, that's good.
I hear left-hand 97 second-round pick Vanderbilt, and I like it. Right?
Yeah.
I like that. There's upside there. Vanderbilt doesn't screw around, and he was a second-round pick, which means there was some pedigree. And so for me, and most people are viewing him as the throw-in. I don't know that that's the view that the Royals have, though.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, if you caught this, but in the press release, they mentioned Holton first, which when I read that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And he's obviously the higher upside of the two.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting because the tweet was, and maybe I'm just reading way too much into it. Maybe it was whoever they wrote first, but he's not first alphabetically. He is not older. And so I thought it was relevant that they put Holton number one or first of the two. So yeah, he might end up being the prize of that deal. But I think on this, that itself is a solid deal. You look at some of the other bats, like Joe Adele brought back the catcher. I'm blanking on his name.
2024 second round pick.
Yeah, but he's fine. I don't know. He's not. I don't think he's a great prospect. I believe Baseball America had him like 18th in Cleveland system, which is a good system. But I think you could argue that they got more for Lane Thomas, and Lane Thomas has less control.
Yeah. What do you think the timeline is? Braun for 27, you've already mentioned. What would be the timeline for Holton?
Yeah, to me, he's one of those guys. You're probably looking at late 28 or 29. But also he's a college guy who's back from injury and a little bit older. So you never know, it could click and you could see him next year. I would think it's possible, not probable is what I'd say.
Yeah. Probable for what year?
Like late 28 or 29 makes sense. Okay. But I think it's possible you see him next year.
Yeah. But
because again, college guy, older now with the surgery behind him, he could move fast.
Yeah. I think that's the deal. Like what I think I have to do, and what I think everybody else I would offer to consider, not they have to do it, but what I have to do, what I feel compelled to do is go like, I didn't really go turning cartwheels over Berger and Kolek, but yet they were both really good. I didn't go turning a cartwheel over Cole Reagans, but he was really good. Like at this moment where we're sitting here going like, yeah, I'm not sure, what have you. They've had success with guys that didn't knock your socks off. And now the question is, do they get them in there and do they teach them new pitches? Do they finish off their development? They seem to have been pretty good at that. They also seem pretty good at getting them hurt because every guy I just mentioned is hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's like great. Like, we see these guys, they've got ability. Well, let's get them in here. We can maybe
can you name a guy who isn't hurt
before they go down? I mean, not that they acquire in trades.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, I would think that, and I know like there were some of the comments and they were about Braun being a soft tosser, and you mentioned him being kind of more of a Seth Lugo and having a variety of pitches. I'm okay with that. And that's part of like, I do want them to have more power in the bullpen and more velocity for sure. But it's not just a bunch of guys throwing fastballs. It's guys that have different things. And then you do want a guy like Braun as well. You want them to see 98 from the right side, 99 from the left side. And then here comes, curve, change, slurve, knuckle curve, the array of different pitches is what gets guys off balance. The Rays bullpen has always been like that. Not everybody's just some flame-throwing beast. And I think that's what they got in the other deal that they got done in Duran. So they have gotten a variety of arms, which I do appreciate, and I do like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Duran, I saw hit 99.5 in AAA this year. So it's like they just cloned Steven Cruz and acquired him, which the way Cruz has pitched, I'll take that. I don't know if I believe Steven Cruz will continue to pitch that way, but I mean, look, big fastball, really good slider. I mean,
no control,
very little control, I would say.
I mean, it's gotten better over last year, but last year it was like it
was brutal.
He had like 51 walks in like 55 innings. I mean,
yeah, it was, but also, I mean, again, we're talking about each trade in itself. They got him for a guy who has been on 2 rehab assignments and pulled off and will be a free agent in 2 months.
Well, so, a total agreement, because I think it's been clear that Bubic was on his way out the door. Whether he doesn't jive with Sweeney, or he doesn't jive with Contreras, or he doesn't like that he didn't get offered more, or he didn't like Brady Singer being dealt. There has never been any feeling whatsoever that they wanted to keep Bubic. Was he pissed about the bullpen? Does he feel like their training methods are what got him hurt? I don't know, but it's always felt like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be gone. And so I don't see any realm. Like, could I see him doubling back? Well, Matt Strahm made his way back. So sure, he could always make his way back if he goes and realizes, oh, it's not sunnier over here. I'll go back to where I was. But it's always felt like he was going to be gone. So to get anything for Chris Bubic, who's on the IL and not under contract,
he may not pitch again this year.
Right. There's a Danny Duffy element to it. I also think there's a chance that this kid, that the Duran kid, never throws a strike in the big leagues too.
Sure.
But to get at least a live arm, I'm fine with that. And I think it could work out if he does come back. The Dodgers got themselves either a very good reliever or potentially a guy that can make a few starts for them down the stretch, or even if all their arms keep going down, which they got a lot of guys that are injury prone, and you had to go with Chris Bubic. Chris Bubic, if he's healthy and on his best day, he can go win a game 3-2 in the postseason. I mean, he has weapons.
But I think, to be fair, like the Dodgers, if anything, they need starting pitching, right? They do not have enough good starting pitchers. It's not, look, they don't have a Tarek Scoob. Oh, wait. No, they don't have a. Yeah, they've got a few, but yeah, you're right. I mean, these guys get hurt. Like the way they've used some pitchers in the playoffs. I mean, if they can use Chris Bubic for 3 innings in one playoff game, they do not care that they traded Carlos Duran for him. They don't care. That's enough. That's enough to make it worth their while. And it's a JJ mentioned this too today, and I had thought about it as well. Chris Bubic is an interesting trade target for teams because they don't have to worry about a 40-man spot for him since he's on the 60-day. So it's like, if you need to clear a spot, which the Dodgers probably did, they cleared off Duran. They get a guy who could help them potentially. I wouldn't count on it, but you never know. And they don't have to worry about a 40-man spot until whenever Bubic comes back. If he comes back, there's a lot to like from that.
Bubic has got to go on to their 40, doesn't he?
No, because he's on the 60-day IL.
Oh, that's right. He is on the 60. Yeah, good point.
So there's no 40-man issues for them. And like Duran was on their 40-man. So, that's I think that's an interesting, JJ mentioned today, 5 or 6 teams were on Bubic. I like getting the guy who throws 99 for him. I think that's a good use of your resources. I think.
I do too. I think it should also be pointed out that the Dodgers are like, listen, we can pluck these guys off trees.
Yeah. Which I wish the Royals were there. I do.
And they're not. That's the unfortunate
But hey,
part.
if you can trade injured pitchers for them from the Dodgers, that works too, I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then what do we make of the little deal to grab Hoffman?
I think Hoffman's interesting. I don't make much of it. It's a DFA deal, right? It's a guy who they got, and they DFA'd him because I can't remember which trade it was, but one of their trades required a 40-man spot. But Hoffman is really interesting because he is kind of
Manuel Colon to the Phillies for Nolan Hoffman, and Nolan Hoffman had been designated for assignment.
Yeah.
So people know he's 1-4 with a 472 in AAA. In the big leagues, he had made 3 appearances. He had a 386. Just for the record.
He to your point about different looks, he's a different look. He's low arm slot. His fastball has high spin, 119 expected average on it, and 146 expected slug in AAA on the 4-seamer, which Royals don't seem to have a lot of good 4-seam fastballs in the bullpen. Even if it's not high velocity, but that's interesting. I'll take a look at that. Why not? He's been up to 95 with his fastball. It's not like he's throwing 88 or anything like that. He also I would probably get rid of the sinker. Based on the stats, I don't know anything else, but based on the stats, I would probably get rid of it. But he also has, I think, a pretty good slider as well. Maybe it's a sweeper. I can't remember now. But audition everybody. They've signed Scott Barlow. We saw Aaron Bummer. They signed Matt Moore. I'm blanking on who else. They signed Anthony Gose. Give a 29-year-old a shot. Why not? What's the difference? It's a perfectly worthwhile risk. I'll be honest. I follow the Royals prospects pretty closely. I'd never heard of Manuel Colon.
I never heard of him.
So I not that doesn't mean he's not good. I don't. It's very possible that I just haven't heard of the guy, but I've never heard of him. So it's worth a risk.
Yeah. Any deals, like you mentioned the Adele deal. Like the one thing I will say is if you're playing for next year, if Soriano gets dealt and the Angels wanted a catcher, Blake Mitchell for Soriano, like you had a better catching prospect I think on paper for sure, than what ended up getting Adele away. So they were clearly looking catching, and they moved Soriano in an earlier deal. Couldn't you have packaged some things together? I mean, if your answer is like, we don't think Soriano's very good. Okay, fine. But he looks better than, he might be better than anyone you have in your rotation right now.
He would probably be the Royals ace. I agree. I mean, what we don't know, did they want Arjun Nimala? I think that's how he says it. Were they just dead set on that?
Arjun Nimala was on his third team. I mean, I remember that he was a thing when he was 16 or 17 and getting drafted, but that ship has sailed.
He's a top 40 prospect.
Is he really still?
Yeah. He's doing. Let me look up his numbers. They're actually he did something. I don't remember. I mean, I didn't pay that close attention because he's not a Royals prospect. He's not his third. No, he's on the Blue Jays drafted him. He was a Blue Jays guy.
I thought the Reds drafted him.
No, drafted in 2023 by the Blue Jays.
All right, well,
20th overall in the. But he was hitting. Let's see, 279, 355, 451 in AA. I mean, it very well could be that they just said, "Hey, I would rather have this guy." But your point is correct, obviously. And
by the way, he had stops. He had stops this year, though, albeit 3 at bats in rookie league, 3 at bats in A, 23 in high A, and now is landed in AA and is got an 806 OPS and is still, his youth was his thing. He's still just 20 years old. But most people don't think he's going to stick it short, but you know, you play him at third.
So regardless, I mean, whether they wanted him or not, your point is there. And the fact that, like, they could have potentially gone back to the Angels and said, all right, you've traded Soriano. How about Blake Mitchell and for Reed Detmers? And there was a report at one point that Detmers was traded to the Cubs, and that was denied, and he never got traded. So it didn't happen. But like you said, if why would you not do some off-season shopping at this deadline? Why would you not go out? I mean, the Angels also traded. Oh my God, I had his name just flood. Ryan Zefferjohn as well, and I can't remember who they got back for him. It wasn't a huge return. They wouldn't have needed. Well, the Cubs traded Moises Ballesteros and Mason McGuire for him. Ballesteros was, I don't know if if his prospect status is dipped quite a bit, but he was a big prospect for a minute. DH catcher. Why? I'm not saying I necessarily would have traded Blake Mitchell for a reliever, but you couldn't have traded. I'm blanking on the guy they drafted the catcher they drafted last year who's hurt now, but whoever it is, he's an A-ball. There's got to be a deal there, right? I mean, you would. Why aren't you trading for those kind of relievers as well? I mean, look, the Giants traded Eric Miller to the Red Sox for Marcelo Mayer. Miller gets strikeouts, Daniel Lynch doesn't. But you're telling me there's not a deal they could have built there? I'm with you. Go after the controllable guys who help them and do some offseason shopping now.
Yeah. I want to take a break. I want to come back. We'll talk a little bit about what it looks like, how next year we go, okay, this was the right move. This was the way to do it. We'll do that after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. If your property needs asphalt or concrete work, Gann Asphalt and Concrete is ready to help you. From parking lots and drive lanes to sidewalks, curbs, patching, seal coating, crack filling, and repairs. Their experienced crews handle projects of all sizes throughout the entire Kansas City metro. Whether you're fixing problem areas or planning a larger paving project, Gann focuses on quality workmanship and dependable service from start to finish. No matter what shape your pavement is in today, they can help improve it. Request a free estimate and learn more at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, how does it look? How do we next year? What happens next year? What happens this off season that we look back and go, okay, this is why it worked? What's the path to success? That this was the part that we didn't really like right now, but we go, okay, I see what they were doing.
Well, they're healthier for one. That's the start. But the biggest thing is, they spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
They have, I mean, based on some calculations I've done, I think I actually did something wrong here because I've added in pre-arb players who would get replaced with players they sign, but just go with it. For a 26-man roster, they've got about $107 million allocated. If they go to 165, which they were at about, if they were willing to go to 150, they've up 10% basically every year, the last couple of years. If they do that, all big ifs, let's be clear, they've got about $60 million to spend. They're going to need to spend it, but they're not going to, it can't just be money. They have to go into the farm system and say, we're going to trade Josh Hammond. We're going to trade, and I don't know if they trade Josh Hammond, doesn't matter, whoever. We're going to trade this guy because we have to trade him to go get George Kirby. We have to trade him to go get, I have a list I'm looking at right now. I'm just trying to we have to trade him to get Reed Detmers. We have to trade him to get Braxton Ashcraft, whoever it might be. You've got to go out and you sign somebody. So let's say you sign, I don't know. Let's say you sign Trevor Rogers and you give him, he'll be 29 years old. You give him 4 years and $82 million. I don't know if that gets done. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Then you go out and you have to trade for somebody. And then you got to sign 3 relievers and trade for another one. You probably want to trade for an actual closer because you want to win, right? You're not just going to go, well, look, Steven Cruz had 7 saves at the end of the year and looked good. No, you probably don't turn that over if you think you're going to win. So then you got to call the Brewers and say, hey, what does Trevor McGill cost? Or whatever. The names don't ultimately matter. But yeah, you've got to spend a lot of money and some prospects, and that's how it gets done. And look, it's possible.
And here's
probable, but it's possible.
But here's my concern with that. If you keep spending on pitching, like the Brewers, I got a buddy who every time I'm like, hey, the Brewers, they keep flipping guys. Like they keep position players. You need to mention that they keep position players because keeping Bobby Witt, and if you want to sign some guys, the Brewers will keep position players. They keep turning over the pitching, which is smart, right? And because pitchers are they self-destruct more, and you can count on the hitters more. I got it. But at some point, when are we talking about Jack Caglione getting signed? When are we talking about Carter Jensen getting signed? They got Michael Garcia, they've got Bobby Witt, but the 2-year deal for Cole Riggins and the 2-year deal for Vinny Pasquantino, I've said before, you didn't buy into any free agent years. So when is that the plan to try to say this is what we're going to do? And I know the answer might be, well, we've got to have the cheap pitching, and our system is not putting that out yet. Okay, but are you not believing that it's going to eventually? I mean, are you questioning the guys that are in your system right now?
I mean, that's a great point because you look at the high A, Henry Churio, David Shields, Justin Lampkin. We keep hearing he's going to pitch again this year. If he does, he's back on the radar. Taylor Rave, they just drafted him. We'll see. I don't know. These guys need to start turning in. And look, if they want to say, hey, we're going to sign these guys for 2-year deals and we're going to make do until they get here, I think that's a fine idea. It's 50-50. Like, you don't know if it's going to work. I mean, when they signed Wacha and Luga, we all thought, those are pretty good deals. But Lugo's had 1 year of starting. Wacha at that point, I think it had 2 good years after struggling for a few. Is that right? Was it 2 or 3 at that point?
Wacha had a good year in Boston and a good year in San Diego.
So it was 2 years. Yeah, that's right. So it was 2 good years, and that's why he was able to hit free agency sooner than Lugo. Lugo was less of a sure thing, but I don't think either was a real sure thing. And they weren't paid like sure things either in free agency dollars. You could do that again and maybe they both stink. It's very possible. And so, yeah, it's not the safest bet in the world, but if they are hell bent on contending, it might be their only option.
If they're going to ratchet up the payroll, then this makes more sense.
Yeah. If it gets to 180, 185, yeah.
But I want to be clear, that can go wrong. You can go out there and think, okay, here's the market value for this guy, and here's the market value for that guy. And you get out there and somebody blows it up. And it's like, well, here are two targets, and we've got this fallback, and the fallback goes first. And so you push for the two, you need them both, and then they both start going for more than you want. You only end up with one of them, and you way overpaid for him, and then he gets hurt. That's how it falls apart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, there's an alternate world where the Royals signed Jurickson Profar and Anthony Santander. They were on both of them.
They've done a nice job of like, here's what he's worth, and when it goes beyond that, we're out. But that's the problem, and I respect that. And any one move I will listen to, but you seem to be pointing towards next year. So that means you've got to have a way to get there. Now, I will say this. I think the Jonathan India deal got done at the deadline the year before, right? Like, they didn't end up doing it, but the framework was there. So they knew, okay, we can get him if we'll give this, right? If Brady Singer's in it, we can get him. They weren't willing to do Brady Singer at that time. But they felt like, okay, in the offseason, we'll do it because we'll be more ready for it. We can move Bubic into the rotation. He'll take his place, and we're in good shape. That was the plan. And so maybe they've had some conversations, and part of the reason why they didn't do it is like, okay, we've got some of those deals in place. We think we're going to land this starting pitcher. We think we're going to land this bullpen piece. We didn't move Blake Mitchell, but we're going to move Blake Mitchell. And, so we have the framework of what we're going to do this offseason. Can always go wrong. You always need a backup plan. But I guess I would buy that if that was their mindset.
Sure. That's fair. I mean, it's possible. You're right. I mean, I think the Singer and India deal, that's a great example. I think that one was probably...
I know it was discussed at the deadline.
Yeah, I think it was discussed the year before too.
Yeah.
So I mean that one was a long time in the making. But yeah, I mean, again, here's the thing. Sounds bad. I don't care how they do it. They just got to do it.
Right.
And look, if we can sit here and say that's not a smart use of money, that's not a smart use of money. I don't care how they spend their money as long as it doesn't impact future seasons. If they're happy to lose money to win, cool, me too. I'm happy for you to lose money because it's not mine. Spend it if you're willing to. As long as that doesn't mean in 2031, you're like, well, no, we spent too much in 27. We can't spend that money now. Well, then it's a problem. But if it's not going to be a problem, I don't care how you do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is a path to where this was the right move, but they're going to have to spend money, and they're going to have to really be surgical in how they do it.
Well, the other thing I want to bring this up really fast. We talked about it a little bit, and Passon brought it up on your show. I think it was last week. Well, it would have been because he's on Monday, so it wasn't today.
Well, he wasn't on today because of the deadline, and he was on TV all day.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. That's pretty rude of him to choose ESPN. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Give him a beat down. No, but he mentioned this, and I thought it was an interesting point. It got me thinking. Teams like I heard. Let's see, today's Monday. It was yesterday. I heard yesterday morning from a scout that does not give a rat's ass about the Royals. It's not a Royals scout. Different team is like, hey, I've heard some of the offers for Wacha. They are borderline insulting. I would not take them. And I was like, what? Why? I know he's not the best starter out there, but. And he mentioned the same thing that Passon was talking about, which is teams don't care if you don't have good stuff. They're not going to invest in you if you aren't rating on the stuff meter. And we were texting about this.
So
earlier,
teams do care if you don't have good stuff, because you said it the other way originally.
Yeah, you know what I mean. The teams only want guys who have good stuff. They only want to invest in guys who have this great stuff. And I think a great example, Dylan Cease and Nick Martinez. If you look at their 2025 seasons. Almost identical ERA wise, innings wise, all that. One guy's got elite stuff. One guy has fine stuff. Dylan Cease got $30 million. Now he got 7 years because he's in his 20s and it's different. Nick Martinez got $13 million. Dylan Cease got $30 million a year. Nick Martinez got 13. And it's because teams are not willing to pay big for not great stuff. And I see in the chats, that's why Soriano went for so much. Yeah, stuff. Ryan Zefferjohn went because he's got good stuff. Eric Miller brought back Marcelo Mayer because he's got strikeout good stuff. the reality is teams didn't care about Daniel Lynch. They wanted him, yes, but they weren't giving up enough from the Royals' perspective to see that they weren't giving up from the Royals' perspective for them to give up part of their bullpen next year, because the Royals have so many holes to fill, and that's right or wrong. That's the reality of what teams are giving up. And I don't know if the offers came up. I haven't talked to that guy again today. He was probably a little bit busy. But like I think it's a fair point that, look, Michael Wacha might succeed next year, and you might look at it and go, I don't know how he did it. I mean, there was somebody on this podcast, I'm not going to name names, who before the season said Michael Wacha would have a terrible year. Look, it was a dumb comment, and I'm not going to call him out, but clearly he's not having a terrible year.
Right.
and I'll spoiler alert, that guy will probably predict the same thing next year.
Because he doesn't have the great stuff. But I mean, I do think there's the funky contact guy. I mean, I think that's the world the Royals need to live in. They need to develop their ace and sign the value guy who gets people out with his brain, and an arsenal. And I think that's why Lugo and Michael Wacha have been good signings. And I think I've been okay. Walker's been a very good re-signing. Lugo's been okay. It's not a disaster. The money's too much. It's trending towards down unless he bounces back. But, again, they were like, well, who else are we going to get? And that's what they have to get to, is they have to be able to find somebody every year. And I'll tell you, the Brewers went and got Lance McCullers, who has sucked for the Astros for about 5 years. He's been hurt or sucked, but he still strikes guys out. So there's some kind of stuff there, and they're like, okay, we'll get him. We'll fix him.
Right. And they DFA'd him after 2 games, but still.
Well, yes, but I'm saying the mindset of like, okay, let's see what it is. Let's get him in here and let's get a look. And the mindset is, if you have stuff, we can make it work. Right. Yeah. So, I think the Royals, I don't mind them having the crafty starters if they have the overwhelming bullpen, but you can't go crafty to crafty.
But, and to their credit, because I don't want to crap on them entirely this whole show, they've done that. They some of the guys they brought in the relief, look, you're not getting an elite reliever off the DFA wire, right? But they got Nate Pearson, who throws 98. They traded for Duran, who throws 98, 99. Like they've at least, those are the guys they've at least brought in to try, and they are giving that a shot. I would like to see them give it a shot I would like to see them try Lance McCullers. They're in a spot right now where there is
absolutely should try him. It makes me think he's probably a jackass, and that's why Milwaukee kept 8 and ran.
I think that's probably very likely. And so maybe it's not McCullers, maybe it's somebody else. But I mean, there are guys out there who have really good stuff. See if you can harness it. If you can't, oh well, you're already 21 games under 500. Is that right?
Yeah.
21 under. Who cares? Who cares if you're 24 under because of it? At least, I mean, look, I'll tell you what doesn't get guys out. Matt Strom.
Yes.
I mean, like that's pitchers like him are not Aaron Bummer. I don't care they brought him up. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over.
It's desperate times now.
It's desperation. They needed an arm. I don't care.
Well, what should the rest of 26 look like? Like, what are the traits that you'd like to see?
I want to see them. I mean, it's some of the same stuff that we talked about, but keep throwing Cruz and leverage. Let's see. I think I believe in him a little more than you. But give him 2 months. Let's see what happens.
I think there's stuff. I'm with you. I don't disagree with that assessment at all. I think they should keep throwing him and let him grow into the role.
Oh yeah, I know you agree with that. I'm more bullish on it actually working than you are, I think. But I'm not sure it'll work or anything. But I want to see it. And when Beck Way gets back, I want to see the same thing. I want to see Nate Pearson in the late innings. Maybe they found something. The guy was a top prospect for a reason. I want to see that. The problem, not the problem. It's just the reality of the team. There's not a whole lot more to see that you want to see. I mean, we got to see.
Well, I think like John Rave needs to play.
Rave is very interesting. Yeah.
I know he's left-handed and Lane Thomas was right-handed, and so it's not the bad. But I mean, do we need to see? I mean, Kyle Isbell's going to play, I guess, but
yeah, we'll see.
Is there upside with Kyle Isbell, or do we know where Kyle Isbell is?
I mean, the upside with Kyle Isbell is you show off he's healthy to trade him in the offseason, and I'm fine with that. If that's the plan, I don't think it is, but if that's the plan, I'm fine with that. But John Rave, I mean, Rave is interesting because, and I don't know what the deal is, why they keep adding toe taps to every single hitter, but they added toe tap to John Rave this offseason, which I think it's funny. They credit it to Alex Zumwalt, which I feel like is them being like, hey, see, look what he did. Look what Alex Zumwalt did. They got John Rave back on track. But he's been really good since he came back. Now the sample is disgustingly small. You can't predict anything from that. But I mean, he's hit for some power. He can play center field. Yeah, give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And then the thing we talked about last week too, I want to see like Matthew Lugo come up and see what he can do. Get Gavin Cross. Just put
that's we talked about that Eris last week is one of the things. David, it was David's list of guys he wanted to see, and he's like, yeah, let's get him up. Let's get a look. Let's see what we got.
Why not? I mean, and yeah, I mean, I think the big thing now. Let's see. The bigger picture, Caglione, I would like to see him finish strong. I want to see Carter Jensen finish strong. I want to see these guys power through a bad season. You know, I think there are things to watch, but there are, high A and double A. I want to see guys move up to double A and see some of that. I'll be paying a lot more attention to the minors than I have in the last couple of years, which is both fun and sucks. You know, it's more fun to watch a good big league team. It just is. But we can't control it. So yeah, let's see what they can do.
By the way, I want to address this one. Norman says, why our minor league is really weak? Because we go cheap in signing prospects. They spend their whole draft allotment. I mean,
yeah, they don't go cheap.
They spend their international money like everybody else. Now you can say they spend it on the wrong guys. And I would tell you that in years past, I would agree, but their spending and the talent that they've taken over the last 3 years under Brian Bridges appears to be very good. So,
well, and internationally, they're improving as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great one of the better young international shortstops. That's next year will be in low A. We'd like to see him finish this year in low A. Their minor league sucks because it takes like 5 years to turn over a minor league system. Mm-hmm. And they're 3 years into they're 4 years into JJ Piccolo, 3 years into Brian Bridges running that show. And so we just haven't been there long enough to see it all come to fruition.
Well, right. I mean, internationally, I'll throw it. Angel Gomez, we talked about, I think last week. I don't know how it's Jaider. I don't know if it's Jader, whatever. Suarez, the shortstop you were mentioning. Yandel Ricardo was a 2024 international signing, I think, out of Cuba. He's been really good in A-ball. They are spending on minor leaguers. They're spending internationally. They're spending, like you said, they're spending in the draft.
But there are caps. I hope people know there are caps on how much you can spend on your draft because there's an amount of money that's slotted for each pick. Tally all that up. That's how much you have to spend. And if you go above it, you start losing draft picks. And in internationally, there's an amount you have to spend. You can put it all on one guy or you can spend it on multiple guys. But go over it, you can't. If you go over it, then you lose it for X number of years. So, or X number of time. I can't remember what the penalty is for going over internationally, but
yeah,
there's one there.
I think I don't remember if it's draft pick or what, but
it's there. And so it's not cheap. That's not it. They're spending the money that everybody else is spending. And I think it's just, look, we're coming up to September 22nd will be 4 years of JJ Piccolo in charge. 5 years, we have a very good picture. I'm not saying that it's a finished project. But I think, if you fast forward to September 22nd of 28, right now you've got, you're approaching 1,500 at bats. You're approaching 1,000 plus at bats. Now you're approaching 1,500 at bats with Jack Caglione. Carter Jensen's getting close.
28 or 27?
28.
28, yeah,
excuse me, 27. 27. You're right. I'm already on 27 mentally, and then I was adding a year. In 26, he'll be at 4 years. In 27, he'll be at 5. And so, You will have a much greater. Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione should be settling into the players they are. We'll know exactly what Michael Garcia is, who they signed. Bobby should still be in his prime years. Kendry Churio should be a mainstay in the rotation. Lampkin should be up in the rotation. David Shields should be getting close to the rotation. We'll have a much bigger picture. And then all the draft picks of the last couple of years, they should be crowding towards the big leagues as well. So you'll have a better idea of where they are. And then they can trade whoever they got of the big league roster, and we'll see how much they've spent. We'll know a lot more at that point. But, I do want to stress there are still a lot of positives. I know it's gone horribly wrong, and they're thin. They're thin because there was no system, and there still isn't anything at AAA, right? And so that's the problem. Yeah. Hopefully Rave can be a fourth outfielder type. I would be thrilled if that were the case, right? And you get that. Maybe Gavin Cross has found it. I tend to get less excited about 5 games than other people did, but maybe he's found it. He was a good prospect. Others thought he should go in the top 10 range, so it wasn't outlandish where he went. So, we'll know. I will
also say, and I want to preface this. I don't think this is going to happen. Okay, so don't come after me. Put the pitchforks down.
Come at me, bro.
Fine, come at. I don't care. Bring me a pitchfork. There is a world. Again, I'm just throwing this out there that the Royals need to tread water until midseason next year, and they get a lot of reinforcements. Can't count on any of them, but there is a world that it's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible.
Yeah, you're talking about Reagans, Bergert, and Kolek all coming back.
Coming
back and being who they were. And
Kolek coming back, but also we'll talk about Lampkin, Churio, maybe Shields. These guys coming up through the system. Again, it's unlikely. I'm not saying it's
throwing in the minor league guys too, yeah.
But throwing the minor league guys, if one of the two in Reagans and Bergert come back like what they were, if one of the 3 in the minors comes up, all of a sudden you got 2 more starters. Again, I don't. They should not play it that way, but it's possible that they have a good problem on their hands come July-ish of next year.
Let's leave on a good note. Blake Mitchell is hitting. You've got the numbers, since July 1st?
Yeah,
on where Blake Mitchell is?
321.
Because it's not just walking. It's not just on base. It's not just slug. He's actually hitting the baseball.
He's at 321, 436, 568. The strikeout rate is down to 25.7%, which down 2 is a problem, but much better. That's a big. I don't know if anything's changed, but that's a big positive organizationally. And
that's more than a month.
It's a little more than a month. I think they've got to move Blake Mitchell.
By trade or move him up in the system?
Well, both. I think they should move him up now to AA. Get it? Well, I guess if you don't want to risk anything, but I think he should be a part of a trade for a starting pitcher, a reliever, whatever. And
since they didn't move him, should we start thinking that that Carter Jensen's gonna be the one that's dealt? I know the Kansas City kid is tough to deal, but listen, Seth Lugo kind of called out his there was the one game where he's like, you got to kind of challenge, where he called him out. We know he was late. Vinny Pasquantino gave the big brotherly advice to him, but does he fit in with everybody?
Maybe not. Although not that this is the point. Seth Lugo made a bad challenge yesterday.
I think Seth Lugo also apparently thinks he shouldn't pitch in Colorado. Well, I rely on spin, and the spin doesn't spin, it doesn't bite in Colorado.
You're not pitching well enough to be that much of a diva. Sorry.
I would agree.
But I look, I don't think they're going to trade Carter Jensen. I don't see it. But it's interesting. I maybe. I mean, maybe he is the guy who moves.
I mean, if you believe in Blake Mitchell, you're going to have at the end of this year, he's going to be a 20-plus home run hitting catcher. Carter Jensen will have value, and if you don't see him as your number one guy, and Blake Mitchell you think is the real deal and has finally discovered it. I'm just saying all these options have to be on the table.
100%. Trading Jack Caglione has to be on the table. if you're not, and I don't think they should have signed him by now. And I don't. There are still too many holes for me for what I believe will be a first baseman. Given what first basemen get, you can wait. It's fine, generally. But if somebody comes, if you say, look, we have Jack Caglione, we have Vinny Pasquantino, and Jack Caglione brings back 75% more, trade him. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do it. Everything has to be on the table. The only thing I don't think they can do from a fan base perspective, and I hate to say it because the second that a front office starts to go by what the fans want or don't want is when they should absolutely be fired. I don't think you can trade Bobby Witt. I don't think anybody will understand the return, even because if you trade Bobby Witt, you are resetting the franchise in probably a phenomenal way. I don't think you can do it.
Not now. I can do it in 2 years.
Oh yeah. I'm saying this offseason. Like, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. All right. Well, we'll see if they start playing better baseball. Listen, you can always support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors. Gann Asphalt and Concrete for over 30 years. Gann has helped KC businesses maintain safe, professional-looking properties, whether you need asphalt paving, crack sealing, concrete repairs, or parking lot striping. Gann delivers quality work you can trust. Visit GannAsphalt.com for a free estimate. And our friends at Italian Delight, the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Daily lunch special starting at under $10. Strombolis, calzones, sausage rolls, hot and cold subs, their lasagna, chicken Alfredo. They got it all 3 minutes east of the Speedway at 8145 State Ave. Online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.